Today on Ham Radio Q&A, I open the mailbag and answer your questions, so please keep watching for more. Hi, I'm Michael, KB9VBR, your host for Ham Radio Q&A. I'm on a mission to inspire and educate the ham radio community, so if this is your first time watching, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Well, September was a busy month. I did manage to get outside with some field operations, and I attended a rained-out radio expo last weekend. But I really appreciate and thank the Chicago FM Club for their hard work they put in to making that show a success every year. Hopefully next year, a lot better weather. But in Wisconsin, we're full on with autumn now, so as long as the weather holds out, I'm planning to get a couple more field videos together. So stay tuned to the end of this video to find out some more news and coming attractions for this channel. In the meantime, let's answer some questions that came up in the last month. Well, my video comparing the Chameleon MPAS and the Wolf River coil generated a really good conversation. Generally, I'm glad to hear that there's fans of both antenna systems and both styles are working well for their field operation needs. It was never my intention to say that one was better than the other, because they are both unique and provide their own advantages. But, starting out with some of the quick comments received, Glenn asks, "Good comparison, I appreciate the work. What other whips will fit the Wolf River coil? Thanks." So the Wolf River coil has a 3/8 inch by 24 nut on it. So any whip with a matching stud could be used. The Chameleon MPAS uses the same 3/8 by 24 lug, so you could mix and match between the two antenna systems if you so desired. Or if you really wanted to create a super lightweight system, you could put a ring terminal on a piece of wire and suspend the whole antenna from a tree. And speaking of alternative installations, Carl of Chameleon Antennas says, well, the MPAS 2.0 comes with a 25-foot and 73-foot long wire, which can be used for a radiator or a counterpoise. So if you really want to tune the unit with the counterpoise, then use the 73-foot and roll or unroll the counterpoise until you obtain the lowest SWR. If you do, you won't need a tuner. Carl continues by saying, also remember that if you're using a single counterpoise, then the MPAS will have more gain toward the direction that the counterpoise is pointing. So kind of think about that when you're deploying your counterpoise. And if you have trees in your area and you want to maximize the antenna performance, you could use the 73-foot long wire as a radiator and then the 25-foot long as a counterpoise, and set the 73-foot in a sloper configuration and extend the counterpoise at the opposite side of the 73-foot long radiator. This will allow the unit to cover everything from 6 meters to 160 meters with a tuner. And just to follow up on that, I did do a video on using some of the MPAS wire configurations, so I'll pop a little link up here. You can check that out to see how the wires deploy with the MPAS system. And also, Carl, thanks for those clarifications. And I'm going to continue to do more activities with the MPAS. Trying out additional radials and a counterpoise to see how it enhances the operation. The MPAS is really versatile, and there's another YouTube reviewer that calls it the Lego system of antennas. I really like that. So I'm planning to do another video this fall with some of those alternative installations, to show you, as how Carl mentioned, to deploy it in the field with hopefully without the use of a tuner. Not that the Wolf River coil by any means is a perfect antenna. Don mentions a downfall of it. Any discussion of loading coils should point out that the less desirable than RF resistance of stainless steel. When trying to make a shortened antenna more efficient, the last thing you need is to add several more ohms at the worst possible point, the coil. But it looks shiny, so I guess that's good enough. Despite the bit of snark at the end, you bring up a really good point. There is a trade-off between efficiency and durability. But the resistance in the coil is real, and it can cause inefficiencies and heat, especially on the lower bands. Wolf River does recommend limiting the power to 100 watts on CW and 25 watts for the digital modes. So I guess, you need to decide if the added resistance of stainless steel is that much of a concern, and if it negates the other advantages of the antenna. As an antenna manufacturer myself, I know, we need to make decisions on building materials and construction methods. Ability often wins out over perfect efficiency. Both Wolf River and Chameleon understand this, and they create quality products using materials that will provide a long life for the antenna. Which brings me to my next comment from Marvin. I have the Chameleon antenna system, including your MCOM wire antennas for 10 through 80 meters. I found that the wire more efficient than the whip, which is not surprising. The inverted L or inverted V and sloper setup works especially well when the counterpoise is well oriented in the direction of special interest. I've wanted to have a silver bullet in spite of the more complex setup requirements. Obviously, you prove the point that a resonant antenna is superior to a non-resonant antenna as a general principle. Every time we make a compromise, something is lost, so taking into account is also important when considering if these antennas are suitable for operating objectives of hams who wish to have a portable, quickly deployed multi-band antenna. I don't think there is a one-size-fits-all when it comes to meeting such objectives. And you're absolutely correct. There is no perfect antenna or antenna system. Everything is a compromise, be it space, location, mobility, or power. Pick the antenna that works best for your objectives and fits within your limitations. Moving on, I received excellent comments and questions on my video about crossband repeating. Starting off, K8MH says, "Nice informational video. Can you crossband with digital C4 FM also?" And the answer is, well, no, you can't. The ASU FTM400 will crossband analog only. In the crossband mode, the audio is routed through the system in such a way that it misses the C4 FM vocoder. Plus, the FTM400 only has one digital vocoder in it, so it is also unable to do a digital-to-digital crossband mode. Continuing on, there's been a bit of discussion concerning identification during crossbanding. I talked about that requirement in the video, but still, I had to do a bit of clarification in the comments. As Stan mentions, you have to make sure your crossband radio is capable to identify itself every 10 minutes. And this issue is a bit more complex than that. And I touch on this very problem of crossbanding in the video. The VHF side is good as it is identified when you identify in the normal course of a transmission. The UHF side that comes back to your handheld is the one that would be considered the unidentified transmission. Yes, there may be an identification tied to it via the repeater or another station using the repeater that's channeled through that UHF channel, but since the UHF transmission is originating from your radio, it also needs your call sign attached to it somehow. Remember, you're using two transmitters, your handheld and the crossband transceiver. And the second transceiver with the signal emitting from it needs some form of identification. That's what we call the hidden transmitter in the whole crossband chain. So how do you solve this issue? Well, the Kenwood V71A and the TMD710G both have auto identifiers built into them. So if crossbanding is an essential feature to your activities, you might want to take a look at those radios. But I've also had a commenter say that the auto identifiers in the Kenwoods, they're kind of a rude identifier, and as long as you're in the crossband mode, they're going to continue to go and identify every 10 minutes, and that may annoy some people. So you're going to have to weigh, that annoyance level with proper identification. But you could also have the other party of the repeater identify on your behalf, say K9XYZ on KB9VBR crossband. But, this is a cumbersome process, and the other person may not realize you're crossbanding. Or third, do identification on the UHF channel from the crossband radio itself when you turn the crossband off. It's better than nothing, and it doesn't quite satisfy the 10-minute rule. With that being said, you can see why when people crossband, they don't really identify that UHF channel and just sort of, hope for the best. Moving on, my video on if you should upgrade your license to general still receives comments, which I'm really impressed on. Indrid says, do not upgrade. The amateur HF equipment is extremely expensive and there's almost no surplus equipment that can be converted to amateur HF. You know, VHF and UHF equipment is very affordable, and old surplus equipment is very easy to convert to amateur radio bands. HF is very expensive. Well, there's 2 points I want to make here. First, I don't believe that the cost of HF equipment should be a reason why you shouldn't upgrade. I know of many general and extra license holders that seldom, or if ever, get on the HF bands. Second, I hear this complaint often about the cost of HF equipment. Personally, I believe that the price of HF equipment is more affordable than it ever has been before. Miniaturization of components and automation of the assembly lines has made electronics extremely affordable. Now, granted that amateur radio gear is a niche item, so it's going to be more expensive than, say, a general consumer good. But, entry-level HF transceiver like the ASU FT450 or the ICOM IC718, they're comparably cheap considering inflation and what you could buy 25 or 30 years ago. But this brings to light a bigger issue about our economy. So wage inequality and stagnation are real things, and it is affecting the middle class at a higher rate than ever before. Interest rates are seemingly low, and the economy is going at full tilt, but wages have not kept up with the cost of food, housing, and durable goods. These are big issues that need to be addressed on a national level, and I'm not going to delve into a political discussion of that. But I will say that our dollar continues to buy less, and we also tend to have less dollars in our pocket. So that means used equipment holds its value very well, and new equipment could just be out of reach of a new ham, especially those that might be trying to make ends meet. Well, I'll get down from my soapbox now and talk more about some of the things that are coming up this month. Christian, K0STH, of the 100 Watts in a Wire fame? Now, that's a great podcast, and you should really check it out. Wanted me to mention the upcoming Fallout event on October 11th through 13th. Mobiles, portables, or just from the comfort of your own shack, should exercise your equipment and get on the air. Any band, any mode, any time. Did I mention there's going to be prizes? So get your 100 watt ID number. You can get that over at the website and get on the air next weekend. Details for the event can be found at 100wattsonawire.com. Link to all of this is in the video description below. Next up, I had some requests for a more complete video on digital and using the WinLink system for HF emails. So look for a start-to-finish video on setting up a digital station and going out into the field to send and receive some email with WinLink. It should be fun. Hopefully I can make it all work. I've also had a great conversation at the Chicago FM Club's Radio Expo. John Kruk with the ASU was there, and we chatted a little bit about the new FT3DR handheld radio. So look for that also. And if there's a topic that you'd like to see, leave me a comment below, and I'll add it to the list. Well, that's it for this month's questions. Please keep them coming. And leave a comment below. I'll filter through the comments, and keep that conversation going. Maybe one or two of them might show up on my next Your Questions Answered video. For more articles and information, be sure to check out my blog at www.jpole-antenna.com. Your support of this channel drives the production of future videos, so there's a couple things you can do for me. First off, if you like this video, give me that big thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Check out some of the other videos that are recommended alongside here. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Pressing subscribe and the little bell notification will inform you when future videos are released. Well, that's it for this time. I'm Michael, KB9VBR. Have a great day, and 73.